At the beginning of the year, I made a video exploring the origins of the days of the week in the English language. We learned that many of these words came from Old English and Old Norse. To find out more, click on the question mark. Happily, this video was well received, and it led to some of you asking for a follow-on exploring the origins of the months of the year. Well, I'm nothing if not suggestible, so without further ado, let's take a closer look at the months of the year. Our calendar begins with the Romans and a 10-month year. It was extended by Julius Caesar to 12 months and then tweaked under Pope Gregory XIII. It is thought that Julius Caesar introduced his Julian calendar after spending time in Egypt. His modifications reflected the Egyptian system and the solar year. This reckoning served people well, until in the 16th century the calendar was tweaked to more accurately represent the solar cycle. Pope Gregory XIII introduced it, and thus the Gregorian calendar, our calendar, was born. However, the Roman, Latin names of the month barely changed from one calendar to the next, from generation to generation. So, let us begin with January. What is the root of January? Well, it's Janus, or Janus. Janus was a special god. He had two faces. This gave him very particular associations. The Romans connected him with beginnings and transitions, gates and doorways. It is easy therefore to see why they would connect him with both the beginning and the end of the year, January. So, the second month of the year, what about February? Well, February comes from the Latin februa. Februa was a Roman festival of purification and washing, whose goddess was Februs. One can imagine much washing taking place at this time of year, with Romans ritually preparing for the months ahead, much like a spring clean. This was also the festival of the spring rains, vital and refreshing. It is worthwhile mentioning that for a while the Romans had no winter months. Quite literally there was a gap in their year during the winter. This will be important later, but now on to March. March was an important month, named after the Roman god Mars. Mars was the Roman god of war, whose equivalent in the Greek pantheon was Ares. Not only did he thaw the ground ready for agriculture, but this was the beginning of the Roman military campaigning season, and quite naturally named after the god of war. The fourth month of the year is April, whose roots are in the Latin aprilis, a word which is similar to the Latin for opening, and thus names a time of the year when buds begin to open. It is worthwhile mentioning that in Old English, April was called Oistormanath. The root of the word Easter, Oyster was the goddess of dawn, new life with the coming of spring. Next, on to month number 5, May. Well, May comes from the Greek goddess Maia. The Romans had adopted this Greek goddess as a goddess of growth. It therefore makes perfect sense to name a growing season after her. However, the Roman poet Ovid suggests an alternative root for the word Maia. He suggests that this month was dedicated to the Maiores, the Latin for elders. With month number 6 we are halfway there, June, the root of which may be Juno, the Roman goddess and wife of Jupiter. The equivalent of the Greek goddess Hera, she was effectively queen of the gods. However, once again, our good friend Ovid offers an alternative explanation for the month of June, whose root for him lay in the Latin juniores, meaning younger ones, although not this young, between 17 and 47. Let us move on from me butchering Latin to the month of July, named after Julius, the Julii, or the Julii. It was apparently in an act of tribute that Augustus named this month after his adopted father, Julius Caesar. Any glory which reflected back upon him from this venerable figure was merely a happy side effect. Month 8 is August, named after, yes, Augustus. It was the Senate, in 8 BC, who insisted that Augustus accept this honour. Being a humble man, merely first citizen, he did so with due humility. However, he did request that the month he triumphed over Mark Antony and Cleopatra be the one named after him. Next we come to month number 9, September, whose Latin root is septem, the number 7. Why 7? Well, it all stems from a time when March was number 1. You may recall that at one point the Roman calendar had no winter months. 2 months were missing. The calendar was reckoned with the beginning of the farming season in March. This meant September was number 7. So, what about October? October has its roots in octo, and this in turn is the Latin for number 8. From here you may see a pattern emerging. November was named after the Latin novem, meaning number 9. And I'll give you a wild guess what the root of December, decem or decem, meant. Yes, number 10. So to continue our pictorial metaphor, March is number 1, September's taken, October and November are those guys there, and December, well, that's the cameraman. Thus, unlike the days of the week, which are largely based on a pantheon of Germanic gods, such as Thor, the months of the year are, broadly speaking, a Roman invention, or at the very least, the words which we use to describe them are. Indeed, the word calendar has its roots in the Latin calende. This was the first day of every month of the Roman year. And there we have it, calendars explored, the months of the year and why we call them what we do. That's one more item checked off my list of things to do today. Now, where's my copy of Current Archaeology gone?